Okay, so this is Daijishō, which is kind of RetroPie for Android devices. And what it does is it ties in all the emulators and all the systems and all the locations of your ROMs and various other things, and allows you to navigate around really easily. Gives it a really nice look as well. So I'm using this on my Orange Pi 5 4GB model. So let's have a look at it. So I ended up using the Android 12 version for this from the Orange Pi website because the Orange Pi OS doesn't seem to work properly. All of the graphics at the top here and various different bits just didn't show up. I did try playing around with settings, but I couldn't get it to work, and with Android 12 it works straight away. So maybe simplicity is better. If we go to the home screen, you can see what happens if you start to install loads of emulators from the Google Play Store. Obviously you get quite a fussy interface and not a very nice way of navigating around. But if we go back into the app, down the bottom here you can see we've got various different systems. So if I pick SNES or Saturn, it just goes straight to it. If I click on the library, it actually shows you artwork. It downloads artwork for some of the games, not all of the games. Obviously it depends how they're named, and in the case of this Sunset Riders it would need to be named properly to find those. But if I press back and go into, say, another system like PlayStation, you can see I've got a load of games in here. Doesn't seem to have picked up the artwork on all of them again, but several it has got the artwork for. And it's very snappy, works really well with a controller. I'm using mouse and keyboard at the moment, but it works very well with a controller. So let's show you how to introduce another system. So I haven't yet put Game Boy Advance in here. So if I go down and go across, you can see it's very snappy to Game Boy Advance, and click on that. And if I click on the Paths button, this is where I tell it my games are. Now just to show you where the games are, if I go into Files, I put everything in the Downloads folder. I probably should have created one folder that said games or something, but these are the same as I would use with RetroPie. So if I double click on the Wii, you can see there's Wii games in there. If I double click on, what else have I got games in, say PS2, you can see the games are in there. So all you're doing is telling it where the games are. So I'm doing this for Game Boy Advance. So if I go back and then select Add, and then go to Downloads and Game Boy Advance, which is here, double click on it so you can see the games, and then hit Use This Folder and Allow. And you can add more, so if you've got them in different locations you can add that, but I'm just going to hit Finish now, and then I'm going to hit Sync, and that's basically looking for all the games. And it's trying to scrape to get the artwork for various different games that are installed in there as well. So if I now go to the library, you can see there's games in there, and some of these, well, yeah, some of these have got artwork or screenshots. Very nice. I haven't explored the widgets yet, but you can see here you can hit new widgets and add various different things. We've got highlight, and I guess because I haven't played anything, that's probably not showing anything up. I've got all the apps, which is showing here as well, and then loads of settings options. So if you want to add new systems, you can hit Download Platforms and click on a different system, and it'll add it to that menu. There's a load of settings in here, and it is actually very, very nice to use. I'm surprised at how good it is to use. So if I press the back arrow and then just flick through different systems, GameCube. I don't think I've added that yet, have I? No, that's another one I haven't added. So Paths, Add More, go to Downloads and my GameCube folder, which is here. Double click on that and use this folder and Allow and Finish, and then Sync. And you can see it's picking up all the games. A lot of these will probably be named properly, so it'll be interesting to see what it does with all the artwork. And I definitely need to spend a bit of time setting up each individual system. Okay, so I've been playing around with it for several days now, and yeah, it is really impressive. It's not as easy or quick to set up as something like RetroPie, where you just drop everything in the right places. You do have to do a bit more configuration. So I've got RetroArch installed as well, although sometimes it asks for RetroArch Plus. If I go back to the home screen, and if I go back into Daijishou, you can see here, so the GameCube, if I click on Library, so none of these were labelled. So, oh yeah, so Simpsons Hit and Run was labelled. But I'm going to play a bit of Kelly Slater's. I did find that the GameCube performance was better in Orange Pi OS, the Android version, than this Android 12 version. But as I said at the start of the video, I couldn't get Daijishou to work with the Android version of Orange Pi OS. Yeah, so what have we got? About 30 FPS, that seems to be about right. Let's go back in and spin around. Oh, that, how does he keep that going? In the barrel, nice. Yeah, happy with that. So let's try something else. So if I press things like the back button, takes me to this menu, and if I go down, I can go across, and you can see Genesis I haven't imported yet, and Jaguar, I can't remember, no, I haven't done that. MAME, so the arcade one. Golden Axe. Oh, and also quite a lot of them, because Android is a touch-based operating system, come up with the overlay, so you have to go into RetroArch and turn that off. And you use the on-screen, so if you want to put a coin in, like, you've got a coin, and then we can hit start, and we can pick our character, and obviously MAME is going to work. Oh, wrong button. The amount of times I do that on this game, when there's only one player on the screen, or one enemy. Yeah, so that you can see that's working fine. So let's quit out of that. Does that take me back to Daijishou? Yeah, it does. So press B to go back. Obviously you can use this on a touchscreen device as well. So N64, and I like a bit of V-Rally. Oh, and that launches us into this, look. So you can see that I've got... The nice thing about when it does this is you've got lots of the options of being able to control everything. So, you know, if I want to make any changes to settings, I've got all that there. So I quite like that it takes you to that interface. So you can use loads of different emulators. This particular one uses adverts, but it is a good emulator anyway, so I don't mind. What position am I in? Second position. Oh, I'm going to... That'll be the big red X. Okay, let's restart the... Let's restart the game. The sound is there, but it's much quieter than the last game. It's a bit twitchy, this game, but it is good fun. I can't remember if break is... Oh yeah, that's break. Oh no, I probably found that out too late. Oh, I managed to get through though. Just give him a little nudge. Yeah, that feels fine. That feels nice and fast. Oh, he's back again, that. Yo, see it fly up in the air and landed on me. Right, let's try something else. So home button. What else have I got on here? PSP. PSP uses PPSSPP, so again, you've got all that extra configuration, which I really like. Sometimes with RetroArch, I don't necessarily like the configuration controls on it, but some individual emulators like PPSSPP has got so much control in it. But I'm going to go with PS2 because that's one of the more impressive systems to be able to use. A bit of burnout. Okay, so the audio's been fine. Yeah, that feels alright. Although we're looking at the... it is slowing down a bit. 44 FPS. Oh. Yeah, and I can hear the audio is slowing down a bit. Definitely doesn't have as good a performance on this as Orange Pi OS. Let's just go back to the menu and see... Does it let me change graphics in this bit? I'm not sure if it'll let me switch to Vulkan if it's not already on Vulkan. Oh, it's on OpenGL. Yeah, so Vulkan is better on this. So let's go back. Yeah, that's much better. Yeah, that's fine with Vulkan. That's nice and fast now. Yeah, happy with that, apart from the crashing. So let's try Sega Saturn, because that's something that always on the Raspberry Pi 4 it used to struggle with, but on this it does seem to be much, much better. So library, and let's do a bit of the classic Sega Rally first of all. Let's get some volume on this. And what's funny about this one is actually this emulator, I don't know what it's using for this, there's probably a way of finding out, isn't as good as the standalone one. And there is a way of configuring it. What I probably would do if I was doing this again, which I definitely will in the future, is to basically start off by downloading the emulators, getting the ROMs, getting the BIOS, getting everything sorted out, and then import them one by one. I've kind of done it as like a blanket thing and kind of rushing through it, just sort of experimenting, kind of working out how it does it. But you can see here, if you go to edit item, you've got all sorts of things on here that you can change. But if I go back from this and we pick paths, you can see I've got a couple of different places where the ROMs are and the BIOS and everything. And if we click on this little edit button, you can launch with different systems. So the one that I prefer is called, I'll put it on this left-hand screen, yeah, Yaba Sanshiro 2. So we go back in, there's almost too many options in here. So there's Yaba Sanshiro 2 Pro. There's that one. That's the one I would want it to be. Let's try that and see what that does. Save. Right, so let's try it again and see if it launches in Yaba Sanshiro. No, Yaba. So this has picked the Retrage one. Yeah, I definitely need to play around with this more because the controller's not set up for this. So let's launch this, because I thought this worked really well, and even at 1080 as well. So I can use my controller to select Sega Rally. You can see it looks much crisper, looks really nice. Not sure if I've seen Saturn Sega Rally look quite this good on any of the systems I've tried it on before. Here we go. I need to configure the controller a little bit differently, but I think you can see that that's working really nicely. 60 FPS. It's lovely and smooth, and for a Saturn game, looking really crisp. So if I was to press the back arrow to go back into the Android bit, you can see under settings, and I've got FPS turned on, rendering resolution 1080. So even at 1080, performance is excellent. I need to set up the controller differently. If I do open CD trailer and then go into, this game was working, but I couldn't get one of the buttons to get past to the tutorial. Burning Rangers run absolutely fine, but we'll just do a bit of road rash. So Saturn is known as a hard one to emulate. It's something about having dedicated 2D hardware, I think, was one of the reasons that it was so hard to emulate. So later systems like Dreamcast is much easier to emulate. Right, what's accelerate? Here we go. Yeah, so 60 FPS. Here we go. It's such a great game. I think I first played this on the Mega Drive, which doesn't look as impressive as this, but it was still really enjoyable. I've got to try and punch while still holding accelerate. Ooh. Yeah, happy with that. So all in all, it is excellent. It just needs a lot more configuration than something like RetroPie. But that said, at least you get access to loads of different emulators, lots of choices, and Android really gets very good support, especially on SBCs with things like Vulkan. It gets much better support than Linux does at this early stage. So obviously as time goes on, we should get better support on Linux and things like Batocera and GelOS. But for the moment, the best performance, well, I found is actually on Orange Pi OS, the Android version. So I'll try and get a way of getting this into it, or maybe it'll work with the next version. We're already on, I think, 0.0.4, so we'll see what happens. Anyway, I hope this helps. Thanks very much for watching. Please like and subscribe.